largest online learning platform that gives you a world of courses, research and learning platform. Welcome to the session. Just give me a second. Okay, so before we proceed, let's have a brief introduction about the educator today. Hello, I'm Prathik Gupta. I am a Bachelor of Commerce from Christ College, Bangalore University. I'm an associate member of the Institute of Chartered Accountants of India, an associate member of the Institute of Cost Accountants of India, an associate member of the Institute of Company Secretaries of India, and also a law graduate from Karnataka State Law University. I'm currently a practicing chartered accountant and also a visiting faculty for CA subjects and an educator for CA students, both offline and online. Prior to starting on my own, I worked with SR Bartley Boy and Associates, that is the Indian member firm of Ernst & Young Global, in the Audit and Assurance Department. Then I went on to work with Ernst & Young India, EY India, in the Mergers and Acquisitions Department. And then finally, I went on to work with the Manipal Group in Bangalore as the corporate controller of their Indian entity, as well as their German subsidiary located in Frankfurt, Germany. It was only after I got back from Frankfurt, Germany, that I decided to start something on my own. And that gave me an opportunity to become an educator, which in turn has given me this opportunity today to take this session for you young, bright and enthusiastic CA aspirants. Thank you so much for giving me this opportunity, and I hope you find the session useful. Anytime during the session, in case you have any questions, queries, observations or discussions to be made, please do not hesitate to drop in a line, and I will be happy to take up the matter for problem solving or for discussion purposes as the case may be, as soon as possible. Alright, and I'd also like to draw your attention to my name and the spelling of my name. My name is Prathik Gupta and it's spelled as Prathik. It's Prathik with an H. Gupta. Now why I'm stressing on the spelling of my name is because a lot of people miss the H in my name, because of which they are unable to find my class on the Unacademy Learning App as well as the YouTube channel of Unacademy. So with my name, that is Prathik Gupta, Prathik, you can look me up on the YouTube channel of Unacademy as well as the special classes on the Unacademy Learning App, which will benefit you in your preparation for the CA Foundation and Intermediate examinations. Let's move on. Now, like I told you, Unacademy caters to you in your preparation for the CA Foundation and Intermediate examination. It does so through 3 platforms. Now, what are those 3 platforms? It is YouTube, Special Class, as well as the Plus platform. Now, YouTube and Special Classes are absolutely free of cost, but they provide you amazing amount of value and resources to help you in your preparation for the CA Foundation and Intermediate examination. YouTube is what you're watching right now, where you get onto the normal YouTube channel, type in Prathik Gupta, and you will see all my classes on the YouTube channel of Unacademy for the benefit of the CA Foundation and Intermediate students. And special classes are also free of cost, and they are available on an app known as the Unacademy Learning App. They provide amazing amount of resources for you to prepare for the CA Foundation and Intermediate examinations, more about which I will tell you in the following slides. The Plus platform of Unacademy is the premium platform of Unacademy, that is a payment-based subscription model, and which has various subscription packages for the various examinations, more about which I will tell you in the following slides. In this slide, quickly, I would like to tell you why I recommend and encourage you to become part of the Plus platform of Unacademy as soon as possible. The first reason why I recommend and encourage you to become part of the Plus platform of Unacademy is because of the daily live classes it provides, where you get to chat with your educator, engage in discussions, ask your doubts and answer polls, all this while the class is going on. The second reason why I recommend and encourage you to become part of the Plus platform of Unacademy is because of the live tests and quizzes, which is conducted on a regular and periodic basis, which help to evaluate your preparation and also get a detailed analysis of your performance. The third reason why I recommend and encourage you to become part of the Plus platform of Unacademy is because of the structured courses it provides, where all the courses are structured in line with your exam syllabus to help you best prepare for it. And lastly and most importantly, the reason why I recommend and encourage you to become part of the Plus platform of Unacademy is because of the unlimited access, where one subscription to the Plus platform gets you access to all the live and recorded courses to watch from the comfort of any of your devices. So keeping all these advantages in mind, among many others, I strongly recommend and encourage you to become part of the Plus platform of Unacademy as soon as possible. Let's move on. Now, in the previous slide, you heard me say live and recorded courses. So these live and recorded courses, that is your live and recorded special classes as well as live and recorded plus courses, are available on an app known as the Unacademy Learning App. So for those of you who have downloaded the Unacademy Learning App and are using it, I thank you very much and I request your support in the future as well. For those of you who have not yet downloaded the Unacademy Learning App, I request you to go to the Play Store on your mobile phones, download the Unacademy Learning App, install the Unacademy Learning App on your phones, put in your mobile number where you will get an OTP, and using that OTP you can register on the Unacademy Learning App. It is as simple as this with no lengthy or complicated procedures. Now the next question you might ask me is, okay, I have downloaded, installed and registered on the Unacademy Learning App, so what's next? So let me tell you that the Unacademy Learning App gives you access to all the live and recorded special classes that Unacademy has to offer to you to help you in your preparation for the CA Foundation and Intermediate examinations. And not only this, it also gives you access to all the live and recorded plus courses that Unacademy has to offer to you in order to accelerate and enhance your preparation for the CA Foundation and Intermediate examinations. So keeping these points in mind, I request you to download, install and register on the Unacademy Learning App as soon as possible so that you can make use of the world of resources that Unacademy has to offer to you to help you in your preparation for the CA Foundation and Intermediate examinations. Okay, let's move on. Now this is an important slide. Like I told you, the Plus platform of Unacademy is the premium platform of Unacademy, which is a payment-based subscription model and which provides various subscription packages for the various examinations. Accordingly, the CA Foundation and the Intermediate subscription packages provided by the Plus platform of Unacademy are as follows. The packages provided are for 1 month, 3 months, 6 months, 12 months and 24 months. The 1 month package will cost you rupees 3,500. The 3 months package will cost you rupees 8,750. The 6 months package will cost you rupees 14,000. The 12 months package will cost you rupees 17,500. And the 24 months package will cost you rupees 21,000. Now please note that these are the listed price of the packages. So before you make the payment for the package of your choice, please do not forget to use the code Prathik to get an instant discount of 10% on the above listed price. I repeat, please do not forget to use the code Prathik to get an instant discount of 10% on the above listed price. The after discount price of the various packages are as follows. The 1 month package will cost you rupees 3,150. The 3 month package will cost you rupees 7,875. The 6 months package will cost you rupees 12,600. The 12 months package will cost you rupees 15,750. And the 24 months package will cost you rupees 18,900. So you see, immediately you get a discount or savings of 10% when you use my code. Now I personally recommend you to start off with the 12 months or 24 months packages for 2 reasons. Firstly, it's cost effective. If you compare the 1 month package cost with the per month cost of the 12 months and 24 months packages, you will see that you're getting great cost savings almost immediately. And secondly, and most importantly, since the CA Foundation and Intermediate course is provided to you in one package, that is 12 months or 24 months, a 12 months or 24 months package will be highly beneficial to you because it covers the duration of both your courses, that is CA Foundation and Intermediate, which normally take a minimum of about 12 months for you to prepare and clear. So if you're getting a package that is 12 months or 24 months covering the entire duration of your CA Foundation and the CA Intermediate examinations for a very cost-effective price, I think that is a very good deal. But having said this, you're free to choose the package of your choice. But before you make the payment, please do not forget to use the code Prathik to get an instant discount of 10% on the listed cost price. Now you can also make use of the no-cost EMI options available for the 6 months, 12 months and 24 months packages, just in case you do not wish to make the payment at an entire shot. The payment options are internet banking, debit card and credit card, and also all the coins that you've accumulated by watching the special classes can be redeemed while making the payment for the Plus course. So keeping all these packages in mind, these incentives, these discounts and the advantages I told you a couple of slides earlier in mind, I strongly recommend and encourage you to become a part of the Plus platform of Unacademy as soon as possible in order to accelerate and enhance your preparation for the CA Foundation and Intermediate examinations. Like I told you, the Unacademy Learning App gives you access to all the live and recorded special classes. Here are the snapshots of few of the many special classes that I have conducted on the Unacademy Learning App and which you may find useful in your preparation for the CA Foundation and Intermediate examination. There are special classes on revision test papers, revision on sale of goods on approval or return basis, Indian Contracts Act, the Companies Act, fundamentals of accounting, retirement of partner, admission of partner, death of partner, valuation of inventories, revision on final accounts of non-manufacturing entities, and many more. So all you need to do is log into the Unacademy Learning App, go to my profile Prathik Gupta, and make use of over hundreds of hours of special classes there taken for the exclusive benefit of the CA Foundation and Intermediate examinations. Also, here are the links to few of the many special classes that I have conducted on the Unacademy Learning App. You can either click on these links or copy and paste these links on your browser to take you directly to my special class on the Unacademy Learning App. There are special classes on Indian Contracts Act, the Indian Partnership Act, the Limited Liability Partnership Act, the Companies Act, basics of communication, accounting concepts, revision test papers, and many more. So like I told you earlier, please log into the Unacademy Learning App, go to my profile Prathik Gupta and start making use of all the special classes that have been taken there for your exclusive benefit. Alright, so if you're done, let's proceed. Okay, so let's start off. Yesterday we started off with Sale of Goods Act 1930 and we did part 1. So whatever we did yesterday, I will not be repeating that, but we will continue from wherever we stopped yesterday. Okay? But before we proceed to today's content, I will quickly give you a recap of what we did yesterday, maybe about 15 seconds. So yesterday we started with Sales of Goods Act 1930. This was a quick introduction. The Sale of Goods Act came into existence on 1930, and earlier to 1930, all the provisions relating to Sale of Goods Act were contained in the Indian Contracts Act 1872. Okay, the definition: a contract of sale is a contract whereby the seller transfers or agrees to transfer the property. Transfer the property means ownership in the goods to the buyer for a price. The sale and agreement to sell, the difference, it was an important question. A sale is an executed agreement, okay, where the ownership is transferred now. But an agreement to sell is when the sale happens at a future date. Okay, essentials of a contract of sale: there must be two parties, transfer or agreement to transfer the ownership of goods. The subject matter of the contract must necessarily be goods. Sale of immovable property is not covered in this act. Consideration is price. A contract of sale may be in writing or by words, and all other essentials of a valid contract must be there, like your free consent, lawful object, lawful consideration, valid offer and acceptance, and other things. Goods. Please remember, under the Sale of Goods Act, you only involve movable goods, and goods contains all items of movable property and includes stocks and shares, growing crops, but does not include actionable claims and money. Actionable claims are claims in the form of mortgage, hypothecation, pledge. Those are not included here, and money, currency, is not included. Types of goods are existing, future, and contingent. Existing goods are goods that are existing at the time of contract of sale. Future goods are goods that are not existing at the time of contract but will be existing in a future date. And contingent goods are goods that may or may not exist due to the happening or non happening of a future uncertain event. Okay, take about 10 seconds, go through this quickly, and then we proceed. We are just recapping what we did in part 1 so that you are in line with what we did. Okay, take about 10 seconds and then we move on. Contingent goods also take 10 seconds. I'm quickly going through this because all this is done as part 1. We will continue in part 2 from where we stopped in part 1, but I'm just giving you a quick recap. Okay, what documents are considered as documents of title to goods? Bill of lading, dock warrant, warehouse keeper's certificate, wharfinger's certificate, railway receipt, warrant or order for delivery of goods. So these are documents that establish document for title of goods. This is an important question. Condition and warranties. From the exam point of view also it's important. A condition is a stipulation that is essential to the main purpose of the contract, the breach of which gives the aggrieved party a right to terminate the contract. Whereas a warranty is a stipulation supplementary to the main purpose of the contract, the breach of which gives the aggrieved party a right to claim damages, not to claim the contract as repudiated. Please take 10 seconds, go through this. Conditions and warranties. Take 10 seconds, go through this. Okay, take an example, then warranty. I'm just quickly going through this because all this has been done in detail in part 1. I'm just recapping it for you quickly. Definition of warranty. A warranty is a stipulation collateral to the main purpose of the contract, the breach of which gives rise to only claim for damages but not a right to reject the goods and treat the contract as repudiated. express and implied conditions and warranties, doctrine of caveat emptor. Doctrine of caveat emptor is important because the doctrine of caveat emptor protects the seller from the buyer, and it means let the buyer beware. The doctrine of caveat emptor simply means that whenever the goods are bought from the seller by the buyer, it is the duty of the buyer to check the goods, to point out, to see if any defects or anything are there in the goods, and it is not the duty or the responsibility of the seller to inform the buyer of any defects in the goods. Okay, but however, there are certain exceptions to this. We will see in the next slide. Okay, we have done this yesterday in part 1 in detail, so I'm quickly going through this. You can go through my part 1 to find out more about this in detail. So these are the exceptions of the doctrine of caveat emptor, and please remember the doctrine of caveat emptor also is an important question from the exam point of view. So the exceptions are that the goods should be fit for the buyer's purpose. If the sale is under a patent or trade name, then the doctrine of caveat emptor cannot be used. The goods should be of mercantile quality. The goods should be fit for usage of trade. The consent of the buyer or seller should not be obtained by fraud. And in case of misrepresentation by the seller, he cannot claim caveat emptor. In case of concealment of latent defect, that means there is a deep-rooted defect in it, which only the seller can know. And even after inspection, the buyer cannot know. In that case, the seller cannot claim caveat emptor. In case of sale by description, so if the buyer describes the good to the seller, then just give me a second, there's someone at the door. ID है? क्या नाम है सर आपका? Just give me a minute, please. I'll be back. Hi, I'm so sorry, someone was at the door. Okay, so are we done with this? Okay, then transfer of ownership and delivery of goods. So please remember the ownership means transfer of risk, reward and liabilities associated with the goods. Okay, so whenever there is a transfer of ownership, there is also a transfer of risk, rewards and ownership concerned with the goods. And it happens in 3 stages: passing of property, transfer of title and performance of the contract of sale, which again we have done in part 1. So quickly we shall move. Now passing of property involves 3 situations where it is a property specific or unascertained goods. Ascertained goods, passing of unascertained goods, goods sent on return or approval basis, and reservation of right of disposal. Please take about a minute, go through this. Okay, we have done this in part 1. So I'm not spending time on this, but I'm just giving you about 10-20 seconds to go through this, and then we proceed. Any questions you may have, please ask me. Okay, then here continue with this. Specific goods to be put in deliverable state. So then the property will pass only when the specific goods are put in the deliverable state. Then point C is specific goods in deliverable state when the seller has to do anything thereto to ascertain the price. So when the deliverable goods, specific goods are in deliverable state, but still the seller needs to weigh them, pack them, or do something to ascertain the price, then the property in the goods will pass on only when the seller completes doing that. Okay. Goods must be ascertained. So whenever there is unascertained goods simply means goods that are not existing at the time of the contract and they are not appropriated or attached to the contract of sale. So first they should be attached and only then the property can pass on from the seller to the buyer. Alright. Please take about 30 seconds, go through this. Then we move on. Okay, delivery to the carrier. So where the seller either delivers the goods to the buyer or hands over the goods to the carrier to be delivered to the buyer without a right to disposal, reserving a right of disposal. In that case, the property is said to have passed on from the seller to the buyer. Okay, please take about 10-20 seconds. Go through this. Okay, goods sent on approval or return basis. We've done this as well. Quickly, take about a minute, go through this. Any questions, please ask me. Okay, take these examples of goods sent on return or approval basis. This was done in part 1, so I'm not spending much time on this. Please take a minute, go through this. Okay, then reservation of right of disposal. Reservation of right of disposal simply means whenever the seller delivers the goods to the carrier or something, and the carrier is on the way to reach the buyer, he can stop it, take back the goods, and dispose it to recover his money. Please take a minute, go through this, and then we did till here in the part 1, and then we will continue from here. Okay. Let me know once you're done. Okay, so let's start off from here. Now, transfer of title. Okay, now this is the next topic, important topic. Now, transfer of title means the name. Firstly, when the goods are with the seller, it is in the seller's name. So when goods are transferred from the seller to the buyer, the buyer has to get a good title or a good name on the goods. So that is the next topic. So let's see. Sale by a person, not the owner. So now let's say if I am not the owner of a certain goods, and if I sell it to someone, then obviously if I am not the owner, then the other person to whom I sell it also will not be an owner. Which simply means if I do not have a good title on the goods, I cannot pass it on to someone who does not have a good title on the goods. Okay? Now let's go on. Subject to the provisions of this Act or any other law for time being in force in India, where goods are sold by a person who is not the owner thereof and who does not sell them under the authority or with the consent of the owner, the buyer acquires no better title to the goods than the seller had, unless the owner of the goods is by his conduct precluded from denying the seller authority. So basically, this means if the seller has no title over the goods or he does not have an authority from the buyer to sell his goods, then he cannot pass on a title to someone else. In the sense, if someone steals certain goods from you and sells it to someone, third person, then the person who's stealing it as well as the third person who has bought the goods from the person who stole it will not get a good title to the goods. That's what it means. Are we clear? Right. Example, if A sells some stolen goods to B, who buys them in good faith, B will get no title to that and the true owner has the right to get back the goods from B. Why? Because A had stolen the goods, and because he had stolen the goods, he has no good title on the goods. But please remember, there are certain exceptions to this rule, and this is an important question from your RTP and exam point of view as well, that please mention the situations in which a person not having the title of the goods can pass on a good title. So please remember. Now please note, there is an exception to this rule. Now what is the exception to the rule? The exception to the rule is sale by a mercantile agent. Now who is a mercantile agent? Can you tell me? A mercantile agent is a person who simply carries on business on behalf of the principal in return for some commission. So the agent is not the owner of the goods, but the principal continues to be the owner of the goods. The principal sends the goods to the agent and agent sells them on behalf of the principal. So now, does agent have a good title on the goods? No. But if he sells the goods in his ordinary course of business and if he obtains the goods with the consent and authority of the principal and sells it to a third person and the third person buys it in good faith and without having any reasons to believe that the agent is not authorized to sell these goods, then the third person will get a good title on these goods even though the agent has no ownership on the goods. Clear? Then the second situation is sale by joint owners. So when a particular item is owned by two or more people, they are said to be joint owners. And if with the consent of the other joint owners, if any one joint owner sells the goods to a third person and the third person buys it in good faith without having reasons to believe that this joint owner does not have authority to sell the goods, then that joint owner will pass on a good title to the third person. Got it? Then we have sale by a person who is in possession under a voidable contract. So when is a contract said to be voidable? A contract is said to be voidable, let's say for example, when the consent of the buyer or seller has been obtained through coercion, undue influence, misrepresentation or fraud. So in that case, whoever is the aggrieved person, that means whoever person whose consent has been obtained through these means, he can sell the goods further, right, because it becomes avoidable at his option before the contract is cancelled by the other person. Okay. Sale by an unpaid seller. So an unpaid seller is a person who has sold some goods to the buyer and on the due date the buyer has not paid him and the seller has still the possession of the goods. Then he can sell it to another person and recover his money, even though the ownership has passed on from the seller to the buyer. Then sale by one who has already sold the goods but continues to be in possession. Now sometimes it might happen that a person has sold the goods but the possession of the goods is still lying with the seller. The buyer said, I'll come and take it tomorrow. So in that case, even though the ownership has passed on from the seller to the buyer, the seller may go on and sell that goods to someone else for a better price. Okay, please take 2 minutes, go through this and then we move on to the next slide. Please take a minute, go through this. Any questions you have, please ask me. Hi Priya, how are you? Priya Saini, how are you? Okay, please take 2 minutes, go through this. Any questions, please ask me. Yeah. Take another minute. Any questions you may have, please ask me. Okay, please take another minute. Ten more seconds and then we proceed. Then we will look at each of these exceptions in detail. Okay, now I've already explained these points to you, so I will not be explaining them again. Please go through them, and in case there's any point you do not understand, please ask me. So these are the cases in which the owners, the people who are not owners of the goods pass on a good title, the exceptions to the case. Please take 2 minutes, go through this. Any questions, please ask me. Okay, take about a minute more. Let me know once you're done, please. Let me know once you're done, please. Okay, take about a minute more. Any questions? Okay, 10 more seconds, then we proceed. Okay, these are the next 2 points: sale by a person in possession and avoidable contract, and sale by an unpaid seller. I've explained these points already. Please take 2 or 3 minutes, go through this. Any questions you may have, please ask me. These are the exceptions to the rule that a person who does not have a title on the goods cannot give a good title to the other. Okay, so these are the exceptions what we are discussing about. I've already discussed and explained these points to you, so I'm giving you about 2 minutes to read them. Please go through this. Any questions you may have, please ask me. Come on. Any questions, please ask. Hi Jetharam Acharya, how are you? Welcome to the session. Okay, all of you, let me know once you're done, please. Sale by a person in possession and avoidable contract and sale by an unpaid seller, these are exceptions to the rule that a person who does not have title to the goods cannot transfer the title to someone else. Okay, I've already explained these points to you about 3 or 4 minutes back. So I'm giving you time to read it. Take another minute, please. Let me know once we're done. Any questions? Any questions? Please ask me. Okay, and then this is the last exception. Take about a minute, go through this as well, and then we proceed. I've already explained this to you, so I'm not explaining it again. Any questions? Please ask me. Are we done? Okay, now let's move on to the next important topic, performance of a contract. Delivery means voluntary transfer of possession from one person to another. Thus, if the possession is taken through unfair means, there is no delivery of goods. It is the duty of the seller to deliver the goods and the buyer to accept and pay for them in accordance with the terms of the contract. Unless otherwise agreed, delivery of goods and payment of price are concurrent conditions. That is to say, the seller shall be ready and willing to give possession of the goods and the buyer in exchange for a price, and the buyer shall be ready and willing to pay the price in exchange of the possession of the goods. So let's say there is a contract for sale of goods between two people. So unless and until there is anything to the contrary agreed upon between both of them, then the seller should be ready to give the possession of the goods to the buyer as per the terms of the agreement, and buyer should be willing to take delivery of the goods and pay for it as per the terms of the contract. So unless and until anything to the contrary is agreed upon between them. Please take a minute, go through this. Any questions, please ask me. Please take a minute now, go through this. Next slide, we'll look at the rules regarding delivery. Okay, so let's look at the rules regarding delivery. Delivery of the goods sold may be done by doing anything which the parties agree shall be treated as delivery, or which has the effect of putting the goods in the possession of the buyer or any person to hold them on his behalf. So basically, delivery means nothing. When there is a contract between A and B, and A is the seller and B is the buyer, then anything that is done by A to put the possession of the goods in the hands of B or any authorized person by B, then the delivery is said to take place, and these are governed by the terms of the contract of sale. Now, effect of part delivery. Now, let's say there is a contract for a number of items, and there is a part delivery that is taken place by the seller to the buyer. Then that part delivery will be considered as a delivery of the whole, unless and until the seller is unable to deliver it. But if the buyer says, no, you deliver half of it now and you deliver half of it tomorrow, then from the seller's point of view, the entire delivery is done. That buyer to apply for delivery. Apart from express contract, the seller of the goods is not bound to deliver them until the buyer applies for delivery. The buyer applies for delivery means asks for delivery. So unless there is anything to the contrary, any contract to the contrary between the buyer and the seller, unless the buyer specifically tells the seller to deliver the goods, the seller is not supposed to deliver the goods. Please take a minute, go through this. Any questions, please ask. Take a minute. Any questions, please ask. Take about a minute more. Any questions, please ask me. Let me know once you're done. Okay. Then, place of delivery. Whether it is for the buyer to take possession of the goods or for the seller to send them to the buyer is a question depending in each case of the contract, expressed or implied between the parties. So whether the seller has to deliver the goods to the buyer or the buyer will come and take delivery, which is the place of delivery, that will completely depend on the contract of sale. But if nothing is mentioned in the contract of sale, then the seller can basically ask the buyer that, okay, where do you want me to deliver it to you? Please send me the details. Time of delivery. Where under a contract of sale, the seller is bound to send the goods to the buyer, but no time for sending them is fixed. The seller is bound to send them within a reasonable time. So again, see, all these things are governed by the terms and conditions of the contract of sale. So if the time and the place of delivery is mentioned in the contract of sale, then that has to be followed. There are no questions asked. But in case there is no time mentioned in the contract of sale, then the seller is bound to send them within reasonable time. Okay, within reasonable time, office hours, he has to send the goods. Goods in possession of a third party, where the goods at the time of sale are in possession of a third person, there is no delivery unless and until such third person acknowledges to the buyer that he holds the good on his behalf. So let's say the goods are in the seller's warehouse, which is somewhere else, and so then in that case there is no delivery until the goods from the warehouse are sent to the buyer, or the person in the warehouse calls up and tells the seller that, sir, I've got the goods for you and I'm holding them on your behalf. Then in that case the goods are said to be delivered to the buyer. Expenses for delivery, then again expenses for delivery is also something that is agreed upon between the contract of sale between the buyer and seller, but in case nothing is mentioned, then the expenses for the delivery are to be borne by the seller. This is the transportation cost and everything will be borne by the seller unless and until anything is agreed upon in the contract of sale. Please take 2 minutes, go through this. Any questions, please ask me. Just a sec here. Okay. Take another minute, please. Any questions, please ask. Okay, let's proceed to the next one. Now, wrong delivery of wrong quantity. So whenever the seller delivers a wrong quantity to the buyer has two choices. Either he can reject the entire quantity and send it back to the seller and say, no, I asked for some quantity, you sent me the wrong quantity, please send me the correct quantity. Or the buyer can keep the wrong quantity and pay him according to the rate fixed in the contract. That is again an agreement between the buyer and the seller. Delivery to the carrier, subject to the terms of the contract. The delivery of the goods to the carrier for transmission to the buyer is prima facie deemed to be delivery to the buyer. So whenever the seller hands over the goods to a carrier for the goods to be delivered to the buyer, it is prima facie deemed to be delivery to the buyer. Buyer's right to examine the goods. Obviously, this is an implied warranty. Whenever the buyer receives any goods from the seller, before he takes acceptance of the goods, he has the right to examine the goods who has not previously examined it, and in case everything is okay, then he can accept it. In case it is not, he can return the goods. Okay, please take 2 minutes, go through this. Any questions, please ask me. Any questions, please ask. Please take 2 minutes. Let me know once you're done, please. Take another minute. Let me know once you're done. Okay, let's move on. Now let's look at the next important topic, that is an unpaid seller and the rights of an unpaid seller. Okay, now rights of an unpaid, who is an unpaid seller? According to section 45(1) of the Sale of Goods Act 1930, the seller of goods is deemed to be an unpaid seller when the whole of the price has not been paid or tendered and the seller has an immediate right of action for the price. That means the seller has transferred the ownership of the goods from the seller to the buyer, but the buyer has not paid or tendered and the seller is asked for the money and the buyer has not paid the money. Or when the bill of exchange or other negotiable instrument has been received as a conditional payment and the condition on which it was received has not been fulfilled by reason of dishonor of the check. So, two reasons are if the money has not been paid to the seller or the seller has received a negotiable instrument. Let's say he's received a check and the check has bounced off the buyer and still the money has not been received by the seller. In these two cases, a seller is said to be an unpaid seller. Let's take an example. A sold certain goods to B for rupees 50,000. B paid rupees 40,000 but fails to pay the balance. Then A will be termed as an unpaid seller. Example 2. A sold some goods to B for 60,000 and received a check for the full price. On presenting of the check was dishonored by the bank. So A is an unpaid seller. Okay, so this is what you mean by an unpaid seller. Please take 2 minutes, go through this. Any questions, please ask me. Please take another minute. Any questions? Any questions, please ask. Okay, now what are the rights of an unpaid seller? The rights of an unpaid seller against the goods. Now, please remember the unpaid seller has two kinds of rights. One is against the goods and one is against the buyer. So let's have a look at the rights of an unpaid seller against the goods. Seller's lien. The unpaid seller of goods who is in possession of them is entitled to retain possession until payment. So there are many situations in which the goods are still with the seller but the payment has not been received. So if that is the case, he can exercise his seller's lien, which means he can retain possession of those goods until he gets the payment. Example, A sold certain goods to B for a price of rupees 50,000 and allowed him to pay the price within 1 month. B becomes insolvent during this period of credit. A, the unpaid seller, can exercise his right of lien. Second one, right of stoppage in transit, where the buyer of goods becomes insolvent. The unpaid seller who has parted with the possession of the goods has the right of stopping them in transit. That is to say, he may resume possession of the goods as long as they are in the course of transit and may retain them until paid or tendered price of the goods. So let's say the goods have been given to a carrier to be transferred to the buyer, but in the way the buyer becomes insolvent, then what the seller can do, he can stop the carrier, take the goods back, retain the possession of the goods. Example, B at Delhi orders goods of A at Mumbai. A consigns and forwards the goods to B. On arrival at Delhi, they are taken to B's warehouse and left there. B refuses to take these goods and stop payment. The goods are in transit and the unpaid seller can take them back. Okay? Please take 2 minutes. Any questions, please ask me. Any questions, please ask me. Take 2 minutes. Please take 2 minutes. Let me know once you're done. Please take a couple more minutes. Are we done? Please take another minute. Okay, then what is the next right that an unpaid seller has? The right of resale. The right of resale is a very valuable right given to an unpaid seller. In the absence of this right, the unpaid seller's other rights against the goods, that is lien and stoppage of transit, would not have been much of use, because these rights only entitle the unpaid seller to retain the goods until paid by the buyer. So basically, the right of resale gives the right to the buyer that once he's retained possession of the goods, he can sell them and recover his price. Otherwise, he would have had to wait until the goods are paid for by the buyer. So this is a welcome right to a unpaid seller. All right. Now, rights of unpaid seller against the buyer, like how I told you, the previous set of rights were the rights of the unpaid seller against the goods, that he could retain the possession, stop in transit, resell the goods, or exercise lien. Now, what are the remedies when the goods have been transferred from the seller to the buyer? Then what are the remedies that a buyer has against when the seller has against the buyer? An unpaid seller can enforce certain rights against the goods as well as the buyer personally. The rights of unpaid seller against the buyer are otherwise known as seller's remedies for breach of contract of sale. Firstly, a suit for price, where under a contract of sale, the property in the goods has passed to the buyer and the buyer wrongfully neglects or refuses to pay for the goods. According to the terms of the contract, the seller may sue him for the price of the goods. So let's say A sells goods worth 5 lakhs to B, and he's already delivered the goods to B. So the property in the goods, or ownership in the goods, has passed on from A to B, and then B suddenly refuses to pay. Then in that case, A can file a case on B for recovery of the price. That means the contract is for 5 lakhs, please pay me my 5 lakhs. Suit for damages for non-acceptance. When the buyer wrongfully neglects or refuses to accept and pay for the goods, the seller may sue him for damages for non-acceptance. So what happened? A and B entered into a contract where A was supposed to give goods worth 5 lakhs to B. So entered the contract. A sent the goods to B for as per the contract, but B refused to take acceptance. He said, no, now I don't want the goods and I'm not going to pay you for the goods as well. So you can take the goods back. In that case, A can file a case for damages for non-acceptance against B. That means whatever is his loss of profit, whatever is the transportation cost and everything, he can claim it from B. Please take 2 minutes, go through the slide, and then we proceed. Any questions, please ask me. System on. कौन सी कार में जा रही हो? कौन सी कार में जा रही हो? Please take 2 minutes, go through this. Any questions, please ask me. Come on, quickly, take another minute. Any questions you may have, please ask me. Let me know once you're done, please. Any questions, please ask. Okay, please take another minute. Any questions, please ask me. Okay, so we are discussing the rights of the unpaid seller against the buyer. So we've discussed suit for price and suit for damages. There are 2 more rights which are there, which we will discuss. Please take about 30 seconds more and then we proceed. Are we done? Okay, now let's look at the next rights. The right to repudiation of contract before due date. Where the buyer repudiates or cancels the contract before the date of delivery, the seller may treat the contract as cancelled and sue damages for the breach. This is known as anticipatory breach of contract. So before the due date, if the buyer cancels the contracts, that is known as anticipatory breach of contract. There the seller has 2 choices, the unpaid seller. Either he waits for the due date and waits for the buyer to complete his obligation under the contract, or immediately when the buyer breaches the contract, the seller can also cancel the contract and file a case against the buyer for breach of contract. Sue for interest, where there is a specific agreement between the seller and the buyer as to interest on the price of the goods from the date on which payment becomes due, the seller may recover interest on the buyer. So initially itself, at the time of sale, if the buyer and seller have entered into a contract of sale which talks about interest, That means if the seller says if my invoice is due 30 days from issuing of invoice, so from the 31st day, if I'm going to charge you interest at 10-20% per month, then in that case, the seller can sue the buyer for charging of interest as per the contract of sale. And next one is suit for specific performance. There might be certain cases in which the damages or the price or this thing may not be sufficient for the seller, because it could be perishable goods that even if he retains the goods, it may be of no use to the seller. It may waste. So in that case, the seller can file a case against the buyer for suit for specific performance, which means where the seller commits breach of contract of sale, the buyer can appeal to the court for specific performance. So the buyer will simply say, sir, I don't want anything, but as per the contract of sale, if he's agreed to take the goods, I request him to take the goods and pay me my price. The court can order for specific performance only when the goods are ascertained or specific. So only when the goods are identified and appropriated to the contract and they are specific, the court can order for specific performance. Alright, please take 2 minutes, go through this. Any questions, please ask me. Any questions, please ask. Any questions, please ask me. Let me know once we're done, please. Take 2 minutes. It's an important question from the exam point of view as well. Let me know once you're done. Are we done? Take about a minute more. Okay. Are we done? Okay, now with that we finished the chapter on Sale of Goods Act 1930. So let's quickly discuss a few questions from the revision test papers issued by the Institute of Chartered Accountants of India, which are being used here for discussion and education purposes only. So let's start off with the revision test papers, November 2020. Question number 6. J is the owner of a Fiat car and wants to sell his car. Okay, now J wants to sell his Fiat car. For this purpose, he hands over the car to P. He appoints a mercantile agent and he hands over his car to P, a mercantile agent, and he tells him that he should sell the car for a price not less than 50,000 rupees. So P says, okay sir, I will sell it for not less than 50,000 rupees. What does the agent do? P sells the car to A for 40,000 rupees, who buys the car in good faith and without notice of any fraud. Then P not only sells the car for less than what J had told him, but he also runs away with the money. J sues A to recover the car. Now decide with reasons whether J would succeed. Now J appointed a mercantile agent to sell his car. He appointed P to sell his car. He told P, sell my car for a minimum of 50,000 and not less than that. So P said okay, but P took the car and he sold it for 40,000 rupees to A and ran away with the 40,000 rupees. Now J wants to file a case against A. Now the question is whether it is possible. So let's look at the answer. The problem in this case is based on the provisions of the Sale of Goods Act 1930 contained in the proviso to section 27. The proviso provides that a mercantile agent is one who is a customary course of his business, has as such agent authority to sell the goods or to consign goods for the purpose of sale and to buy goods or to raise money on security of the goods. The buyer of goods from a mercantile agent who has no authority from the principal to sell gets a good title to the goods if the following conditions are satisfied. Okay, so now remember a couple of slides earlier we read that when a person does not have title but still he can pass on a good title to someone, and there were exceptions to the rule. That the first exception was agent. So in this case, let's have a look. Okay, so now the agent should be in possession of the goods or documents or title to goods with the consent of the owner. So did J give to P his car with the consent? Yes. So that means P was in possession of the car with J's consent. The second one, the agent should sell the car while acting in the ordinary course as a mercantile agent. So when P sold the car to A, was he acting in his ordinary course as a mercantile agent? Yes or no? Yes. The buyer should act in good faith. Did A know that P was not supposed to sell the car for below 50,000 rupees or that he will misappropriate the money? No. So that means the buyer bought the car in good faith. Then the fourth point, the buyer should not have had that at the time of the contract, the sale. Notice that the agent has no authority to sell. So when the buyer was buying the car from the agent, he should not have had the slightest of idea that P does not have the authority to sell. So was that the case? Did A know anything about this? And besides, P had the authority to sell. So in all these four cases, if all these four cases are fulfilled, then the sale made by the agent passes on a good title of the goods to the buyer. So in the instant case, P, the agent, was in possession of the car with J's consent, yes, for the purpose of sale. A, the buyer therefore obtained a good title to the car. Hence, J in this case cannot recover the car from A. Okay? Yes? Okay, please take 2 minutes, go through this. Any questions, please ask me. Any questions? Anyone, please ask me. Let me know once you're done, please. Okay, and take another minute. Let me know once you're done. Take about 30 seconds more. Any questions you may have, please ask me. Are we done? Okay, so in case we are done, we will be ending this session with this slide and we will continue in the evening. Just give me a second. Okay, so I thank you very much for being a wonderful audience. It was a great pleasure to take this session for you. I hope you found this session useful. Please do not forget to use the code Prathik to get an instant discount of 10% when you apply for the Plus subscription. And also, I'd like to welcome you to crack CA exams with us, which is a vertical and channel of Unacademy that caters to the students of CA Foundation and Intermediate in their journey and pursuit of preparation for the CA Foundation and Intermediate examinations by providing top educators, quality content, and overall a great learning experience. So come, let's crack CA exams with Unacademy, India's largest online learning platform. Please do not forget to click the subscribe button on the YouTube video to get real-time notifications about the videos. And thanks for being a wonderful audience. And my next special class today is at 6:30 p.m. where we will be starting off with the Limited Liabilities Partnership Act. And I have my special class now at 1 p.m. where we will be discussing important elements of another act. Okay. Thank you so much. Now have a great day, and I will see you in some time.